feel? How do you feel at this moment? Are you feeling frustrated, anxious, tired? Are you feeling like you're burning the candle at both ends? Our body is constantly telling us what is going on with us, but we've developed an internal clock that says, ignore, ignore, ignore. Do not listen to whatever the body is. I'm just going to keep plugging away. And then next thing you know, you're flat on the floor with a stroke, a heart attack, or go to the doctor with some dis-ease. Our body is constantly telling us that it is time to shift. How do we shift? Well, today we get to learn this with Dr. Jennifer Gramith of Rightway Health and Wellness. Today we're going to talk about the solution to after EVOX, ZYTO testing. There's EVOX, and we're going to talk about EVOX today and how it can help retrain our brain. And since it is, wait. My name is Lillian McDermott, and I am the host of the Lillian McDermott Radio Show and a certified life coach. And if this is your first time in the classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, as I said, we're about to learn a new tool, a new modality that has been around for a long time. Again, we talked about ZYTO, and you can find that class with Dr. Jennifer Gramith on September 21st. But today we're going to have a giveaway, and we'll talk about the giveaway, so stay tuned. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Jennifer Gramith is here to do just that. Welcome, Dr. Jen. It's so nice that you're in the classroom today.
Thank you, Lillian. It's an honor to be here as always. And I'm really looking forward to this class because as we spoke before, I was at the Belginski conference this weekend, and every speaker that got up talked about the importance of dealing with the emotional trauma and how, actually, they didn't go into detail on how to do this, but it was a critical topic, and every one of them knew how important it was to deal with the emotional health and what types of chronic diseases it can cause. And so it was really interesting to listen to oncologists and internists and other functional practitioners around the world. There was doctors from Germany and Mexico, and they're all singing the same tune and talking. And every one of them said, this should be the foundation. This should be where we start. Not, and a lot of times it's in, step 4 or step 5 of our programs. It really needs to move to the number 1 position in our program. We have got to address, if we really want people to get well, and if they truly want to heal, you've got to address the way that we think.
It's interesting. You know her as well as I know her, Dr. Veronique Desaulniers. She has these keys to be a breast cancer conqueror. And one of them is emotion work. And I asked her that question, because it was pretty low. It was like really low in the totem pole and her keys that to do. And she said that if she were to redo this all over again, she would put that in the top, because emotional work is so important, but yet we resist it. Why do you think that is?
Because we don't like to go, we sweep these emotions under the rug, sometimes consciously and sometimes subconsciously. It's our survival mechanism. And so none of us really want to go dig those back out and have to, face them and deal with them. It's just easier to procrastinate, to push away. But I don't think that we truly understand how it affects our physical body, our spiritual body, our mental health. It is probably one of the number 1 killers is, unaddressed emotions. Dr. V was actually at the conference. She was one of the
Was
doctors
she
that
there?
said exactly the way that you said it. If I rewrote these steps, I would put this number one. And I heard that over and over again. And, she had her second battle with cancer due to the fact that she did not address the emotional stress and trauma in her own life because she was taking care of everybody else. And so, it just stamped it in her that she's got to take care of herself first. You can't help other people if you can't take care of yourself. And it's not a selfish thing. It's a very selfless thing to do. And so I think, we really need to, all of us as functional practitioners really need to take this serious. If we don't change the way our clients and patients think about themselves and about their disease process, if you don't change the way they think, you cannot change their behaviors. And that's what we're ultimately trying to do, because their lifestyle is what created the ailment that they're dealing with, that they're really struggling with.
It is beyond incomprehensible why this, well, I know, as I said it out loud, I know why it's being kept from us, because we are such powerful beings. We think things into existence, and we don't realize that we're thinking things that we don't want. And so we're thinking things that we don't want into existence. That was a hard thing for me, Dr. Jen, to kind of grasp a hold of, because I thought I was doing a good job at focusing on things I didn't want. I didn't realize that that focus within itself was manifesting things that I didn't want. And until we get that, we would need to focus on what we want so we can manifest what we want. Until we get that and really drill it, we won't be able to retrain the brain. And that is what I love about ZYTO and EVOX combination. So can you recap what ZYTO is? Because we did that class on September 21st. We did that class on September 21st, and you can go, it's called The Secret to Self-Care. And I believe we talked about how we've been primed and groomed to say, if you put yourself first, you're selfish. That is beyond a lie. That is not true. We need to love ourselves and have that abundance so we can give. So let's talk about this whole process of ZYTO before we even start about talking with EVOX.
Right. So yeah, ZYTO is a biofeedback technology that actually can examine all of the functions of the organs, glands, and systems in the body and what's causing the damage to them or the imbalance to them. So it may be pathogens, it may be environmental. We are able to unlock those secrets, that you've been struggling with, to help you to detox or to support. But what is amazing about the ZYTO technology is it also looks at the emotional role or the role that your emotions play in your illness. And it gives us an idea, a lot of times we will see dysfunction in the liver, and then you see the top emotion causing the dysfunction in the liver to be anger. You can see that, if they have their gallbladder is not functioning properly, that's usually associated with resentment. Now, not always, but the majority of the cases, there is an emotional component that's associated with their dis-ease, just like you said in the beginning. And so you need to know that, you need to address that, because that is one of the underlying problems that if you don't address it, it's just going to reoccur. You can support it nutritionally, you can, do things to detox, but if the emotion stays buried in that organ, gland, or system, it's going to cause dysfunction, and you're going to be battling that, over and over again. So I think that we really, need to pay attention to that. ZYTO is a great tool to allow us as practitioners and you as the client to see those things that you may or may not be consciously aware of.
Okay, so And in the last class, I just want to encourage everybody, you can see that class not only at Dr. Jen's pages, you can also see them on all my social media, including BitChute and Odyssey and Twitter and even LinkedIn. So Facebook and YouTube as well, and podcasts. So I think I got them all. But this is the thing, is that for us to understand the power of EVOX, we need to understand the information that you will get with ZYTO. So that being said, you can go on your own time. It was done on September 21st, and the class is called The Secret of Self-Care, to self-care. Okay, so now what happens after you do ZYTO? You get a report, and that report, does it correlate with what? How does EVOX step in?
So on ZYTO, there is actually a way for you to test all the EVOX emotions, the trapped emotions, and you can actually see where you need to start. So with ZYTO, you can run the EVOX scan. You can look at what are the appropriate affirmations for you to do in your EVOX session, or where should you begin your EVOX session? Should it be topic specific? Should it be transgenerational? There's a lot of your issues, things that were passed down and inherited. So it actually helps direct us as the practitioner on where to start this emotional work with you to get the best results possible.
Very good. Very good. So when it comes to the practitioner, are they going to spearhead this? Do you work with them, or do you send information to your client and they work on this with themselves? How does that work?
So an EVOX session does require a practitioner to, walk you through the process. And so the practitioner is trained in what all of these emotions mean, whether it's repetitive emotions that, like, you just get stuck in this rut and you keep saying the same things over and over again. And if you start to pay attention, Lily, to your emotions, now I did the dynamic neuro retraining program by Annie Hopper one time, and it really opened my eyes because I think of myself as very positive, very encouraging, and it was totally opposite. When I started listening to what I was saying in my back of my brain, and I was just like, just negative things that I would never consciously admit to, that I thought that way. But that's where we're all at, because we have trauma and we have belief systems that have been implanted into us that we do not question, and we don't consciously think about it, but it's constantly playing that tape in the back of our mind, in our subconscious mind, and it's creating inflammation, hormone imbalances, dysfunction, and it is really impacting us in our day-to-day performance. And so, what's cool about ZYTO is that we can target into, instead of, you can go to therapy and you can talk to a therapist about what you think is the issue, and it may take months, years. And I'm not saying not to do that. Sometimes talk therapy is beneficial, but what I love about EVOX is that we target and focus in on the real root of the problem. And then once you release that perception, your life transforms. And so that's what you can expect from an EVOX session, is transformation. Because once you shift your belief pattern, you don't have to focus on your behavior, because now you have a new belief and your behavior falls in line. So it's the easier way, if you ask me.
Yeah, because we don't even know, like you said, we don't even know the thoughts that are going through. I'm curious as to how you discovered this. Were you, because you were taking Annie Hopper's class or course, did you stop to listen to your thoughts? To become aware of your thoughts? Or did you do a test and then you got to see what your thoughts really were there? How did that happen? What was that? Because I believe that's the first part of retraining the brain, is understanding what's in your brain.
Exactly. So I actually saw Annie at a conference, and she gave a great presentation and some great testimonies with some POTS patients. And I thought, wow, that's amazing, because I deal with a lot of clients that have Lyme disease, chemical sensitivities, and they just get stuck. Their brain is so focused on survival that it creates this environment in their body to keep them away from the outside sources. So they become super hypersensitive to light, to sound, to smells. And so it just keeps them in their bed, where in their brain, that's where they're safe. Because if you, let's say you had Lyme, your brain, thinks about being outside in the woods and nature as a threat. And so it's going to keep you safe in your house, in your bed for the rest of your life, because it's just about survival. It's not about your happiness. But I don't ever recommend anything that I don't try myself. And so I bought the program, I went through the program, and you focus an hour a day with the Annie Hopper program. It's a self-directed type of brain retraining. And so it's very difficult to spend an hour a day thinking about what you're thinking about. And then every time a negative thought pops in, as you're in that meditative state, you go through this process of stop. My brain is stuck in a rut. It's sending my body false messages. In the past, I would respond with pain and inflammation or anxiety or whatever is your response to that stress. But today I choose a new path. And so you keep going through this process an hour a day, and you do this, for months with this program. It works. I kid you not. I was amazed at how quickly it works. And then I actually used it with another Lyme patient. And so I found that a lot of people just won't spend that hour a day, so it's easier for them to come in and spend an hour a week at our office and have a guided session to help them to, retrain or train their brain and shift their misconceptions. And so we all have misconceptions. It's not not anybody's fault. There's just the way that we perceive things is not always true, and it's not always beneficial for us. And so we need to really look at, what do we really believe? And this is, I think, is a problem with the population today, is people just really don't know what they believe. And so they just believe everything, or they don't believe anything, in their mind, but yet they do. You're always training your brain. Most of us are training it on the negative side, and those who become aware start to retrain for the benefit of ourselves and others.
Well, I want to kind of see where everybody who's listening, can you relate to what Dr. Jen just said? If you can, just share something in the comment section, give me a thumbs up, or make a comment of what it is that is speaking to you right now. Because the first thing when it comes to dealing with trauma, the first step is to acknowledge that these are things, like Dr. Jen just said. I thought I was happy and positive and encouraging, but the deep thoughts in my mind were not. They were the opposite. And that is true for all of us. I don't care who you are and how evolved you are. First of all, hang around your family, and all those thoughts will creep up. So, right. So anyway, just, I would love to hear from you and share with us. And by the way, stay tuned towards the middle or end of the classroom, because we're going to do a giveaway, and only those of you who stay tuned will be able to get this giveaway from Dr. Jen, and it's going to be a good one. Okay, so this is really great stuff, Dr. Jen. And I know that EVOX works along with, and you had mentioned when they come into the clinic. Now, I known you to be virtual, and everything is virtual, and that's why it works so well to have you in the classroom, because we have people from all over the world tuning in to listen to you. And so with that in mind, if I wanted to do a guided EVOX, would I be able to do this online?
Yes. Yeah. So we do it virtually as well.
Okay.
And so you're still working with the practitioner. You're just working virtually. The equipment is sent to you. You do it in the privacy of your own home or office. and she will walk you through that process of what you say, what you're focusing in on. So it's kind of like a, yeah, it's kind of like a wellness, wellness, like, what is it called? The virtual wellness programs.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can do, just like we can do testing, we can do the virtual testing to get all the information with the ZYTO biofeedback. We can do the same thing with EVOX.
Now, you compared Annie Hopper's 1 hour a day, which I would find very difficult in my life, even though we all have an hour a day. We just are so distracted and disconnected, and we're
Right.
set in our own habits. So, but I'm sure that we can create time in our calendar to make it happen. To me, that would probably be the first thing in the morning. That's when I am the most open to meditate or to be like learning and growing. That for me, that would be a good choice for me. Some people like it at a different time.
Right.
So with that in mind, that 1 hour compared to you, what you said was 1 week with EVOX. So that is even more doable. You've done both. What would you think is the qualifications of a person that would best be suited for EVOX versus Annie Hopper's program?
Yeah, I think, people who really struggle with self-meditation can struggle with the Annie Hopper program. Of course, you just keep practicing, you can get through that. But, that's what is so great about EVOX is it doesn't matter what time of the day it is, it will put you into a deep meditative focused state because it uses the light frame technology. You're listening to music that helps to block out all the distractions we have when we're trying to do meditation. And if you're like me, when I try to just sit and meditate, all of a sudden I think of my grocery list or the laundry that needs to be done or the things that need to be done at the office. And then I'm just struggling and getting frustrated because I'm trying to get back to that focused, meditation, because that's what it takes to heal and to really see those things. But with EVOX, that's all bypassed. And so you use that 45 minutes to that hour, and it's really focused meditation. You can have some great results. My daughter is a practitioner, and she was working with a patient yesterday and had a massive major breakthrough that just transformed her life and her perception of herself. And it was interesting, Lily, because a lot of times we think that it's this trauma, this person, in this instance, the lady had been married and she went through divorce, and she's very hurt with something that he had said to her, that they were trying to get a release off of him, and it was a struggle, and she was really getting frustrated because she couldn't release this ex-husband. Well, my daughter said, well, let's run the affirmation on the ZYTO. Let's see what shows up. And so what showed up was not about her husband, but it was what her mother had told her about her ability of being a good mom and loving her children, and that she wasn't good enough. And her ex-husband had said the very same thing. So her issue went all the way back to mama, and he triggered that emotion. So once she was aware of that, she released him, and she had an emotional release and felt like 1,000 pounds were lifted off of her. She had been shouldering that burden and that belief that she was not a good person, not a good mama, and wasn't doing things the right way. And in her heart, she knew that she loved her children. But, that's the importance we put on what people say to us. And we may say, that don't bother me. I don't care what they say, but it really does.
Well, I don't know if I shared this with you, and I know I've shared it in the classroom, but these are contracts. These are contracts that we make with people that breathe sadness or that they're discontent with themselves and they breathe it back on you. And when I was 7 years old, we just moved to Puerto Rico, and I didn't know a lot of Spanish at the time. And I was like daydreaming out the window, and it was my turn to read. And so when they said my name, I was staring out the window and I got like frazzled, and everybody started laughing at me, and I tried to read and everybody kept laughing at me. And as a result, he said to me, Lily, and I remember exactly that moment. I was a little girl, and he said, Lily, Lily, Lily. And he used to shake his head at me and kind of like look down on me. He goes, if you keep looking out the window and daydreaming, you'll never amount to much. Well, moving forward, this was my second grade teacher. Now, moving forward, because I had that reading thing from that moment that was never addressed, I would take my piano music to my sister. She would play it, and I would play it by ear to my piano teacher. And she thought I was great until I started sight reading. And I mean, I looked at everything my sister was doing, and I knew exactly what to do because I'm an auditory learner. And so I learned, yeah. And she would, when she realized that I don't even know where to put my fingers, what note that is, she became frustrated, and she kept banging my fingers on the piano, and she yelled at me. And all the way home, I cried all the way home. And so later, moving forward, we were the entertainment for my family. Like my grandparents would come, friends would come. We would all do things to entertain the people that were there. We're like court jesters. And so at the end of my paternal grandmother, I just saw her like a few times. She was a very stern woman, a teacher. And she came to me. My mother must have said something to her. And my grandmother, I must have been 9 or so. And my grandmother said, Lily, I heard that you don't want to learn how to play the piano anymore. And I said, sí, abuela, I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't want to. And so she goes, well, Lily, if you stop learning how to play the piano, I will stop loving you. I don't know if I told you the story.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, but those are the contracts. So I took my unlovable, good for nothing self, and it didn't matter what I did. And I'm hoping that I'm sharing this story so that if somebody can relate to this, give me an amen or something. But can you do something for me? Because I've done the work, but still I catch myself. There are times where I find myself where that is my underlying conversation, and I stop it because I know better. I know I'm lovable, and I know that I can do great things because God is in me. And so how can EVOX help me get to that next level? Because I've worked on myself.
Exactly. So you worked on becoming aware of that and trying to reframe that when the thought pops into your head. But to truly retrain the brain, the thought will stop popping into your head. And so that's what it really means to retrain and to make new neural pathways in the brain, to not have that trigger any longer. And so EVOX helps to shift that perception, because you still were perceiving that that's what those people believed. And you may not be taking it in so much as you did, you've overcome that, but you still give validity to the fact that they said that to you.
It's a trigger.
That's what they thought. So that's what EVOX does. It shifts. So it's like kind of like a light switch, all these triggers that you have, it goes and shuts those down. And so it's no longer a trigger for you. And so what you could expect would be that if you're in a situation and someone says, something like that, it won't even faze you. You won't even think about it.
And it might be a rejection, like somebody unfriends you or somebody says something to you because neither the teacher or my grandmother set out to hurt me. They didn't say the things, but I made it up. I made it up that no matter how successful I was, Dr. Jen, no matter how successful, it wasn't good enough. And no matter how loving a person was, they were going to leave me because I was unlovable. And so it was these are the beliefs that we don't know. And I want to encourage all of you to really think about, not just the ZYTO, but also follow up with EVOX. What is the price point of this? So you get the ZYTO, and I know that for people, they get the 20% off if they enter Lily 20. And right there, you can go to shop now or shop Rightway Health or Rightway Health and Wellness.com. You can go there, or you can contact the office at 404-474-2100. If this makes sense to you and you're like, I'm waiting for this class to be over so that I can call Rightway Health and Wellness. If this resonates with you, how does this look as far as, because people may need to save for it. They may need to stop drinking their cafe latte, mocha, whatever from Starbucks or another place. We can save the money to take care of ourselves. So what would it look like?
Yeah. So typically, if you just do one session at a time, it's $125. There are packages you can buy because most people are going to need anywhere between 6 to 10 sessions, especially the larger family you have, especially if you're working on transgenerational, the family connection, which I highly recommend because a lot of our beliefs comes from the way that we were raised. I liked what you said about, it was how you perceived it. Your grandmother and your teacher wasn't trying to hurt you. They actually, in their mind, were trying to help you.
Motivate me.
And motivate you. But it's the way that you perceived it. And that's what you've got to, that gets rid of that victim mentality, and you have control over your life, and you can shift the way that you perceive things. So that gives back control to the client, which is what needs to be done, because we get stuck in this rut. Well, I'm a victim, my parents did this, and there may be truth to that, but that doesn't serve you any longer. So you have to overcome that mentality to truly heal. And I can't emphasize enough what happens chemically in the body when you carry these negative beliefs and you have this stress that's triggered on a daily basis. It may be that because how you perceived your relationship with mama or dad growing up, you are now under a boss with a very similar personality, and you are getting triggered every day. And that's why you hate your job, but yet you feel like you have to go in because you have to prove that they're wrong. But what if you could, not just quit your job and quit everybody and cancel everybody that triggers you? What if you could change your perception of the way that you see your boss or the way that you interact with other relationships, that it no longer triggers you, that you are an encouragement to them, that you, because of your behavioral changes and your shift in your beliefs, it actually helps them to shift as well. And that's what EVOX does. It's amazing how many marriages it saved and relationships it has saved, and just benefited. And it's something that doesn't take months to years. It's a session. You work on this one belief this session, and then you can get a release from that, and you can then work on another issue that you may be having. So it really helps you to know where you need to start. Like I said, it may be, you may think that your husband is driving you nuts, but it may be just the way that you perceived, daddy, and you may be putting those perceptions and beliefs on your husband that causes a discommunication between the two of you, or he's saying something and you're taking it this way. You worked with Dr. Bradley Nelson on the heart wall, and a lot of times we have a heart wall built up so thick that we can't understand our partner or our children because we have such a wall between us. It's just like, we're trying to send love out, and it's just hitting that wall, and they're not getting it.
Back.
And ricocheting, and then we're just so hurt because they don't understand us. And so I had a personal experience with that. I worked on my heart wall with EVOX, and was able to get through and remove the heart wall. And it was, I can't, was pretty thick, and it was made of steel, which the material that you build your heart wall, is important. And so it was really interesting to me, because as soon as it came down, my relationship with my husband was better, my relationship with my children, with my staff, because now I was able to understand them. They're able to understand me and see my heart, and it made a big difference in my relationship. So I am, definitely a believer. And I've been as guilty as all the other practitioners that I heard this weekend, is that we get so focused on the physical ailment that we sometimes forget to look at that emotional root. So we try to pull all the other roots, get rid of the chemicals, the pathogens, all this, but really we are not addressing one of the most important, deepest roots of the illness, and that is the emotional health of the individual and what they believe about themselves and about, their ability to heal. Many times they don't think they deserve to heal.
There's so much you said that I'd like to like counter, because it's not counter, but to talk about and go deeper is the proper word, because I think that we all can relate to being the victim. We could all relate. This person hurt me. This person hurt me. And if you look back, if you really look back and you see this long line of people hurting you, and then they come to see me or they come to see you, and the first thing they want to do is fix their husband, fix their children, fix everybody else around them. And I always tell them lovingly, I always say, I only can help the person who shows up. So because you showed up today, I want to work with you. I want to work with you.
That's a great way to say it. Yeah.
Because they believe that everybody else is the problem. That is victim mentality. Can anybody relate to that? Because we can only change ourselves. And why I was really excited about doing the class today, because I don't know about you, but I can relate to being a really big victim. And there are prices and payoffs to being a victim. And so we get to really look at that. And with EVOX, I'm really excited about this, because it's not just one thing, because I'm sure Annie Hopper did a great job with the well-being of Dr. Jen. And Emotion Code did a great job with Dr. Jen. It's a combination. And then you put the trifecta of EVOX in there. And the next thing you know, one helps the other one become better and better and better. And so,
that's exactly, we use what I use and my staff uses what we've learned with Emotion Code, what we've learned with dynamic neural retraining programs like Caroline Leaf or Annie Hopper. We take that information and then we implement it into the session of EVOX. And so not only, can you get benefit from the emotional trauma, which is key, but it also helps with memory, with learning. A lot of athletes do it to help them in their game, to get past that, stuck point where they don't think that, or they can't see themselves achieving any higher. So you can actually help with that. You have all these students who really have stage, or test fright. They, do really well in classroom, do all their homework, but when they take a test, they freeze and they go blank. You can actually help them to get over that using this type of technology. So the applications of it is just so vast. There's just so many different ways that you can utilize it. And, it's interesting because every practitioner does it a little bit different. And so I've researched how other practitioners use this technology, and we've taken that because it's so important that you do what's best for the client. We don't have just a general, model where everybody does the same thing, because not everybody has the issue due to the same reason. And you really have to address the person as an individual, and you have to look at their entire being, the mind, the spirit, the physical body, the emotional body. That is all critical to pay attention to all of it, because there's different ratios of impact that it has. So I've shared with you, I had a lady years ago come into my office. She was actually not a patient of mine. She was there to bring her sister-in-law that had cancer in for her therapies. But she was just you could see the pain in her body, and she was rubbing her legs, and she was just in so much pain, just sitting in the chair waiting, for her sister-in-law to get tested. And I couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, can I help you? Are you okay? And she's like, I just, doctors said it's fibromyalgia, and it's so hard on me to ride in a car. And it was a 4-hour drive down here. And she said, I have pain like this every single day. And I said, well, if you'll allow me, I would like to try to help you. And so because her sister was getting tested, I actually did manual kinesiology on her. And I tested to see what was causing the fibromyalgia or the inflammation in her body. And it was 100% emotional. Usually it may be 50, 60, 70%, 30, something like that. Hers was 100% emotional. And so as I tried to figure out what emotion it was abandonment and anger and frustration and things like that. So anyway, it had to do with her son. And her son had tried to commit suicide and shot himself. And now he survived, but he was paralyzed. And so she had to take care of him. And he was very verbally abusive to her. And that's when her pain started. She was so carrying so much guilt that her son wanted to take his life. And then the abuse that she got from him, that was what caused her pain. We released those emotions and perceptions that she had in that session, and she walked out of the office pain-free. Called me when she got home after the 4-hour drive back, still pain-free. So that shows you how powerful your emotions are and what it can do. It can affect simple things. It can affect your hearing, your vision, your joint pain and inflammation. It can be even more chronic and cause heart disease and cancer, diabetes, you name it. So pay attention to, your emotional health, and, address that first. Don't put it in the back burner that I'll deal with it later, because addressing that may get rid of all of your symptoms.
Wow. What a great story. I want to hear from you. Did you love that story too? Because, sometimes we get to learn from other people. We're all teachers and we're all students. And that's why I'm so passionate about the classroom, where we all learn and grow together. One of the things that Dr. Jen talked about was the emotion code. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I wish she could come to this on November 3rd and 4th, but we're going to be doing the emotion code and body code in the same seminar. And I hope that we're running out of time here. So get your tickets. We sold out of VIPs. But we do have some tickets available. And if you want to start the process of working and breaking down that steel heart wall, or whatever is your heart wall made of, then please consider coming. Just go to whenyouneedafriend.com and click on the pop-up. And also, I just want you, when you're there, please like and follow me on all social media. Please subscribe to the classroom. Once you subscribe, you get my 90-day challenge to self-love ebook. And so you can start that process. Every little bite of the elephant gets you to, not that anybody wants to bite an elephant, but every bite gets you to where you want to be. So I want to encourage you to check it out. Also, support Dr. Jen at Rightway Health and Wellness. She is doing a phenomenal job supporting the classroom. And all I ask is that you support her as well. As you know, she offers Lily 20 as a discount for all of you first timers. But when it comes to EVOX and when it comes to ZYTO, I believe that she is honoring that 20%, enter Lily 20, so that you can get that 20% off as well. She's also doing a giveaway, so stay tuned. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit. I want to encourage you to go to my Shop Now bag. These are Lily approved products that are helping the classroom grow. So please go there and make sure that you take a bite out of those things too. These are all Lily approved. And then we also have the workshops and with Dr. Jen that we've done. We've done so many things to help you get well. And last but not least, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom, whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month or a one-time donation. I don't care what it is, whether it could be just, if you're saying, oh, I can't do a donation, which I know all of us can, but if you cannot do a donation, and also with your donation, share this video with everybody, because we're all dealing with trapped emotions, all of us. I don't care how evolved you are, all of us, because your knowledge can become your trigger too. That could be your ego that's keeping you safe and protected. So whatever it is, if it's your time, your talent, your treasure, please help support the classroom. Again, Dr. Jennifer Gramith, you can find her at Rightway Health and Wellness.com, shop rightwayhealth.com. You can go there and check out all her products. You can call 404-474-2100. Let them know that Lily sent you because you saw her in the classroom. Dr. Jen, I know that you always like to come with gifts, and I know that today you're giving a gift away. Yes, so go ahead.
So I'm going to give away the Dr. Jen's Immune Essential Kit, which has the Vibrant C, which is antiviral, immune boosting. It has the Biome Balance for healthy gut, because you can't have a healthy immune system, healthy lymphatic system without a healthy gut, because that's where your immune system is. And then the green tea complex. I actually looked at a lot of research this weekend at the cancer conference on the impact that green tea has on preventing cancer, reversing cancer. It was quite amazing. All the scientific studies and literature on that. And so that's included. And then the Dr. Jen's Immuno Blend, which is an antimicrobial. Most of us are struggling with imbalance in our body of too many bacteria, viruses, fungi, candida, all of that. And so this helps to knock that down. And so that's a great kit that anybody can take to boost their immune system, to improve their health. And I highly, recommend it. That's why I developed that particular kit for their immune system, for your lymphatic system. I also want to encourage you to get out and exercise. Nothing stimulates your lymph other than movement. It doesn't have an automatic pump like the circulatory system. And so you see the pictures behind me is actually pictures of your connection between your circulatory system and your lymphatic system. And so if you're not exercising or moving, your lymph becomes very thick, congested, and that is what leads to a compromised immune response and puts you at risk for developing acute and chronic diseases.
That's amazing. I am so grateful to you. Thank you for that gift. Okay, the way you collect this gift, I got to tell you right now, you text me at 407-373-5959. That's 407-373-5959. Your name will be placed in the winner's basket, because everybody who goes for this and everyone who attempts to get this goes into a winner's basket, because you're a winner already because you won it. Okay, then the next thing is on October 26th, which is a week from today, October 26th, I will do a drawing. So everybody who's in the winner's basket has equal opportunity to win. So whether you're listening on podcast 3 days from now, or you're listening today, or 5 days from now, you still have a chance to win. So then we will draw one name out of the winner's basket, and that could be you. So start texting. And if you are overseas, I will tell you, and if you want this, you can pay for the shipping, but you too can be a part of it. just as long as you pay for the shipping. And so you can email me if you don't want to text me. It's lily@whenyouneedafriend.com. That is where you can email and you say, I want Dr. Jen's giveaway. So let me know what it is. Also, when you text me, let me know that you're claiming Dr. Jen's immunosystem, immunokit, and you're claiming it. And for those of you after, or like you don't want to wait and you say, I want it now, you can text or call, not text, you can call, or you can go to shoprightwayhealth.com. So I'm excited. This is really good. This is really good stuff. So what are some of the things, Dr. Jen? And by the way, thank you for your generosity, because you don't have to do that.
No, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure. It's an honor.
So I want to hear from you. I want to hear how many of you this class has been impactful. I want to hear from you. I want you to say it. And I was told by a mutual friend of ours that the more emojis, the more comments, the more everything that you do, they cannot take it away. They cannot take this information away. The more you do it, the more it's shared. So this is part of you increasing the classroom for us, because this information is being suppressed. Right, Dr. Jen?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And this is a message that really needs to get out to all of our communities. Right now, there's over 70% of the population struggling with depression, anxiety, issues, suicidal. It's an epidemic. It's definitely an epidemic. And so we have to do something to help these individuals, help all of ourselves. And if you think, oh, I'm emotionally okay, you're never going to be emotionally perfect. It's a lifetime work. And so, sometimes there's many of us that just get stuck and then things just start building. And so it's just like we're carrying more and more and more and more, and then we collapse. So learning these tools and using these modalities will help you take that burden off. And then we can teach you how to not allow that to happen to you again. And so that is critical for a long, healthy life, a life filled with joy. I can't stress that enough, and I'm just as guilty. Lillian, that when I first got into, functional medicine after getting out of mainstream medicine, I started working with patients and I started seeing the connection between the emotional stress and trauma that they had in their disease process. So I actually went back to school to become a psychologist because I didn't know what to do to help them, and I didn't want to hurt them anymore. But that was only the beginning of my understanding of how important it is to deal with the emotional trauma and stress in your life, and just the chronic day-to-day stress that we all struggle with. Mm-hmm. And so I met a doctor this weekend that has spent the majority of his life doing meditation hours a day, not an hour, hours a day. And it's like amazing to me, because I'm thinking, how do you have time for a practice if but we have a perception that we have to really say busy, 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 busy. And that's the only way that we can show that we're worthy. And so we need to reshift the way that we think and what our self-worth is, because we have to have that time. And I know you deal with this too, with your students, that oh, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to prepare all my food and eat healthy. I don't have time to exercise. I don't really have time to meditate. But that's because you perceive that you're not worth it. And so, when we hear people say that to us, we know immediately that they don't perceive that they're worth it, because you are worth it. And so we have to really shift the way that you perceive yourself. And when you value yourself, it's amazing what you can get done in a day, way more than what you're doing running around like I always say, like a chicken with her head cut off. And, you'll hear me say, somebody will call me and I'll say, what are you doing? I'm just running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And I'm trying to be consciously aware of that and stop that madness in my own life. And so, we all struggle with it. It's not something that Lily and I don't struggle with. We do, we understand, we've been there. But now that we have an awareness, we really have no excuse not to make those changes in our lives.
That's right. That's right. I'm here not to be the teacher. I'm here also as a student. And I know that Dr. Jen is too. We are both students. We're both teachers. And it's important to keep that balance, that we're not done yet. Until you take that final breath, that's when you're done. And then a whole new life that we have no idea what's going to happen after that begins. And then, we just need to be, in the meantime, we need to be true to ourselves. Good way to start is texting at 407-373-5959. Show me, Miss Vanna White. Show me your immunoblend that you're giving away. So 407-373-5959. Text me. Start today, right now, the moment you finish listening to this classroom, or you can start right away if you can listen and text at the same time. But multitasking is a lie. I'm just telling you something I learned. But go ahead. You have a whole week. So if you're listening on podcast, if you're listening on Twitter or Instagram, whatever it is time to take your health back. Another thing, go ahead and call 407-474-2100 or email go to your website, Rightway Health and Wellness, or you can start by shopping Rightway Health. Remember, enter Lily20 so that you can get 20% off. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from all of you who are doing EVOX. I want to hear from you. I want to hear how this worked for you. I am making a commitment, Dr. Jen, that I want to do this. I want to do this. Yes, I want to do this because I want to, just like you, I want to experience it to the fullest level. So thank you so much for this. And I'm really grateful to you for today's conversation.
Thank you, Lillian. It's always an honor.
Yes. And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Dr. Jennifer Gramith wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day
ever.
Good job.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before